Make sure to check us out on Letterboxd for written reviews.
For films that we've done not only on the podcast, but outside of the podcast too.
Links in the description below.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Rewatch podcast. My name is Samuel.
And my name is Jaden.
And this is a podcast where we talk extensively about a certain film and then decide whether it deserves a rewatch from you. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other place you listen to podcasts. And if you enjoy the show, please leave a like on the YouTube video. I feel like every time I ask that, a part of my soul leaves my body.
Guys, damn it, I'm a YouTuber now. You switched it up a bit there in the intro.
Yes, I wanted to make some amendments because sometimes, sometimes we watch new films.
Exactly.
Like we're doing right here.
Do you ever question if choosing the Rewatch podcast was the right name?
Yes, perhaps it is false advertising. Perhaps someone's going to come at us with a lawsuit a few
Enough
years down
lawyer
the line.
talk.
Yes. Moving onwards, if you'd like to reach the show, you can leave a comment on the YouTube video or send us an email at theonerewatchpodcast@gmail.com. If you're listening via Apple Podcasts, you can leave us a review. Thanks to that one person who gave us 5 stars. Fantastic. And today, we're going to be talking about a 2021 film. And what film is that, Jaden?
The Suicide Squad. Just had to clarify the one word in the front there. Don't get it mixed up with the 2016 cut, because that is just horrendous.
Drop the.
Drop the.
It's cleaner.
It's cleaner. Yes.
Social network quote for anybody who doesn't know what I just said.
It's another piece from James Gunn, who obviously directed the Guardians films, and I think he's done like a few sort of indie
like
horror
Brightburn,
films.
Yeah.
I quite like James Gunn. I think he's really good at doing these sort of character-driven films where he just has like a bunch of misfits all coming together and creating this team. Guardians is the original Guardians of the Galaxy is one of my favorite MCU films. So, to hear that he was doing a DCEU film got me really excited. So, yeah. What did you think about it?
He's a very talented writer as well. And that's sort of the 1-2 combo you need.
Yep.
Sometimes the directors, perhaps even my favourite, Zack Snyder.
Yep.
Bit of an inferior director. I mean, storyteller, story writer.
Yep.
As he is with the visuals and, the building the moments in the films. James Gunn has sort of got the best of both worlds. And I think this film really shows that. He also did the screenplay for Dawn of the Dead, so he actually wrote.
Oh, really?
He actually wrote the film that Zack Snyder directed.
Interesting.
So they're quite good friends.
Yeah.
And people have often tried to pit them against each other, like in interviews and such. And James Gunn's just like, look, man, I love Zack Snyder. I love Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Like all of this. So
yeah,
they're good mates. And Dawn of the Dead is my favorite, like what I think the best Zack Snyder film is. And it was written by James Gunn. So, and he is very good at balancing characters. Dawn of the Dead had 5 or 6 characters.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like any of them were sort of, not given enough attention.
Yeah, not given enough like light on the screen,
And then at the same time, you can sort of pick your favourite.
Yeah, that's the thing about Gunn. He, like I said before, he explores all these new characters that no one knows of. I mean, TDK, the detachable kid or whatever.
Yeah,
who's heard of him?
That? Yeah.
It's just cool that he's kind of giving these new characters, new wild characters, time to come alive on a screen because no one else is going to take advantage of them. And I think that's what DC needs right now. It's kind of cool that we're getting these dark, sort of gory comedy films from them. That's what I want from DC. Either dark or comedy, and mixed together is just so good, right?
It did work in this movie, yeah. Sometimes it can lead to disaster, though.
Yeah, there has been times.
Trying to balance the tones. But
yeah,
if anyone's going to be able to do it well, it's James Gunn, I think. So, let's talk about Warner Bros. And some of the decisions they made for this movie.
I'm just going to stop you right there before we move forward.
Okay.
Zack Snyder produced this film, if you didn't know.
Yes, but he also produced Wonder Woman 1984.
Okay.
And Birds
Deborah
of Prey
Snyder.
and stuff. So there's no creative control. Snyder's out of the DCEU at this stage. I imagine he just had a contract that just said, you're going to produce this amount of films. And executive producers and producers, it's really, really difficult because sometimes your producer is Kevin Feige. You know, sometimes that's the producer.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a range of producers. And then you get someone like Zack Snyder, who clearly had nothing to do with this movie.
Yeah.
But it was cool to see his name up there regardless.
Exactly, right? I saw it up there and I was kind of like...
Hang on a second.
What? He's doing this?
Yeah. The Suicide Squad. Is this a sequel? Is it a reboot? Or did they not even decide that?
I mean... They didn't really decide it, did they?
It's a sequel, in my opinion.
I definitely think it's a sequel. I mean, you know, you've got returning characters such as Harley Quinn, Amanda Waller's come back, Rick Flag, even Captain Boomerang's in there. And there might have been a few others that I've forgotten there. But at the same time, they kind of forget about a bunch of characters that were in the previous film.
That's true.
And then just move on. So it's hard to kind of place it as whether it's a sequel or whether it's just a reboot. I don't know. Did they just decide they liked these bunch of characters and kept them along?
Margot Robbie's there because she's Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
The rest of them, and there's two others, I think, returning, apart from Margot Robbie. Obviously, you have Amanda Waller as well. And so by that standard, I think this is a sequel. And as much as they don't want to call it Suicide Squad 2, it is Suicide Squad 2. If Suicide Squad didn't happen, sure, this would work just as well.
Yeah.
But you can't take the good things, and by that I mean Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn and Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, stick them into a movie and not tell us that it's a sequel.
Yeah.
It's a great movie though, so it doesn't, and it works by itself.
I'm not really fazed by the fact that they just kind of moved on. It's good to see the DCEU is kind of exploring these new ideas and trying to find its footing. And this is like the first time that I've felt confident in the DCEU to make a fresh start again. I mean, they've got James Gunn directing. He's obviously going to come back for a few more. They've got an established cast now that people actually like. People can connect with these characters. And they haven't pissed off like a bunch of the actors, Henry Cavill's not there complaining yet. So they have a fresh start and I want them to take advantage of it. And if that's by making this soft reboot, so be it. I'm happy with that, yeah.
I think my favourite thing about this movie, but also my least favourite thing, is the fact that it's not really connected to the universe. It doesn't really work as a universe movie.
Yep.
There's no sort of, okay, this is where we were before, this is where we're going now. There's no sort of direction. But then again, it's just such a fun, isolated adventure. And I feel like a lot of the MCU films aren't good, isolated adventures. So I'm happy for DC to just do these good, isolated... Like, we don't need to be building to the next Justice League because we know that's not going to happen because Warner Bros. Have, angered like a quarter of the Justice League.
Yeah, exactly.
And a quarter of them aren't ever going to come back. Like, so it's...
Yeah.
It's like we're not building to something here, but the product's good enough anyway.
It's good to see that, right? It's always kind of felt that like DC is just trying to catch up to Marvel's shadow. And now with James Gunn kind of, coming in and taking on a project, he kind of understands, I've made the Guardian films. I don't want to do this established universe sort of stuff anymore. I just want to make like an epic adventure with these dumb characters.
Guardians of the Galaxy is an epic adventure with dumb characters, and he made us fall in love with characters who I hadn't heard of previously. And Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the best MCU movies, and it also works by itself.
Yeah.
He's done the same thing here, I think.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so a bit of a plot synopsis for you. Supervillains Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, and a collection of nutty cons at Belrave Prison join the super secret, super shady Task Force X as they are dropped off at the remote, enemy-infused island of Corto Maltese.
Yeah.
They're dying to save the world, is the tagline. Sitting at a 3.8 on Letterboxd. I think that's reasonable.
I think that's pretty reasonable, yeah.
A lot of people are coming on and rating it 4.5.
Yeah.
And such out of 5 stars on the old Letterboxd platform. So let's jump into some general questions. Somebody who has not seen this movie, who's currently listening, and they don't want to hear spoilers just yet. Should they go and see this movie? And if so, what sort of person is going to like this movie?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend this film to basically anyone. It's very brutal. There's a lot of gore in it. So the standard in our country, Australia, is MA15. So make sure you are of age. I had a few children,
same,
very young people in my theater watching it. I was like, holy moly, these kids are like 12, probably even younger. So make sure you're of age.
It's not an Avengers movie.
No, and I think that's what the parents were kind
that's
of
what they
hoping
think it
for.
was. Yeah. But then again, it's MA. Like, every
Yeah.
time I saw someone buying the tickets, every time you click on to buy a ticket, it says warning, MA restricted movie. Your fault, parents.
Yeah. And what was the second question?
Who's going to like this movie?
Who's going to like this film?
Yeah.
Essentially anyone. I think it's a really good start for like people just getting into like comic book films. Because it's got like action, obviously, and then it's also got that sort of James Gunn comedic value in it. So I think I couldn't imagine anyone that wouldn't really like this film. I think it's just a great start for comic book film. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need any previous knowledge to come into this and enjoy it.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people, and in fact, I'll talk about it later on. But I had actually somebody come up to me and ask a question about the movie.
Oh, really?
So I know there's a lot of... And she was quite young.
Was it a fan?
A fan of the Rewatch podcast? No, not yet. But no, so she was actually asking me something about the movie. I'll talk about that later. But it just shows that people who aren't heavily into the comic book sort of world are coming to this movie and enjoying it.
Yeah, it's cool to see that, right?
Yeah. Also, we'll just note briefly that we actually both went to the cinemas a couple hours ago to see this.
Very fresh in our minds.
Yeah, it's a very fresh reaction here. So, is that going to bias our rating? Is that going to make us a bit more excited about the movie? Possibly.
Possibly, yeah.
But, we're just going to tell you what we think right now. If it changes, we won't let you know because we won't do another podcast on this movie ever again. So.
Exactly. I think it's good to get like an initial perspective of it, right? Just... whether you like the film, this is what we thought of it, go out and see it.
Did you walk out of the theatre pleased?
Yeah, exactly.
Same.
Yeah.
I wanted to clap at the end. Obviously I didn't because I'm not a moron.
You're not that white.
I'm not a moron. And bro, I've been seeing things on Facebook of American theatres like in Endgame and stuff, and the theatre is clapping and shouting, and I'm like, shut up. Like, it's not a sports match, guys. Like, sit down and watch. Like, but no, whatever.
I'll flip the question back on you. Do you recommend this film? And obviously, who will enjoy it?
I would recommend this film definitely, but not to everyone. Like a certain audience. I think perhaps the age cutoff. Yeah. Probably like, for like I wouldn't tell my parents to go and see this movie. But anyone who actually likes superheroes is going to love this. Yeah. If you're 12 years old, I'm not going to tell you to go and see it, but I know you're probably going to go and see it anyway. Exactly. Yeah. And you're probably going to think it's fantastic, just like I did when I went to go and see Deadpool. So, yeah, I think nobody's really going to go into this movie and come out thinking that it was terrible unless it just was not what you were expecting, or perhaps you were a big fan of the original movie. If there's any of those people out there, I don't really think there are, to be honest. You'll be sad if you like Jared Leto's Joker. He's unfortunately not returning. And so that's just an example of Warner Bros. Picking and choosing what to bring forward. Which I don't know. Maybe the Joker could have been interesting, maybe just for a cameo or something. But
Yeah, but
the movie's got a lot going on as it is.
It comes into the fact, do we bring in Snyder's version of Leto, or do we bring in?
That's
A or
that's
I?
Nightmare version, isn't it? So that's like a future sort of, yeah.
Yeah, is that how they justified it? He's kind of growing.
Oh, they haven't justified it. Like, he's just not in the
They'll
film.
probably never justify it.
Yeah, they never won't. Is this film worth a rewatch? Are you going to go back and see this in the theater, or are you going to get it on physical, or you can check it out on streaming?
I'm probably gonna watch this again in the theater.
Nice.
It might be with you.
Yes.
Who knows? I had a great time with this, man. I think it's definitely a very, very, very rewatchable film, in my opinion. Yeah, it's just going to be one of those films that I just keep on watching into the future.
For sure.
It's got a lot of fun in it,
Yeah. I might go back and see this in theatre. I will probably pick it up on physical media when it comes out. Probably get the 4K.
Cool. Yeah.
Because I think this movie's got a really interesting style, and that's sort of what I look for in comic book movies, especially when you're looking for something that's going to look good on the 4K format.
Yeah.
So,
also, just before I forget about it, the formatting, bro. I'm not sure about what you saw in the theater, but I had a full screen.
yes, man, it's a full screen.
Yep.
It's like Joker. It's like
Yep.
Joker, man.
Yeah,
Like
that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, it's the exact aspect ratio, I think. If you look at the trailer, there's this tiny little black bar at the top and the bottom, which is exactly like Joker. Joker's one of the best looking comic book movies I think ever made. And this is, honestly, it looks fantastic with that wide screen. Bro.
As soon as I saw the Universal logo come up and the screen was full, I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Fantastic, bro.
Yeah.
We don't want any of that letterboxed,
No.
grey looking MCU concrete garbage. All right. We actually just touched on the visuals there. Any other thoughts that you want to add on the actual visual style?
Yeah, just quickly, a lot of the trailers kind of depicted it as being like really flushed out with the sort of white, sort of, what would you call it? Chalky sort of color. When I was watching the final sequence, that wasn't really that apparent to me. It kind of, I don't know whether they toned it down a bit or whether it kind of was explained by the situation they were in. I won't go into spoilers, but yeah, it just kind of, I kind of forgot about it, or it just wasn't there. Yeah,
it's a very vibrant movie, but it does have that sort of like chalky filter to it. And we've always been a bit critical of movies that give a filter.
Yep.
And when I saw the trailers, I thought, oh no, this isn't going to be a good looking movie at all. This looks terrible. Like, just visually does not appeal to what I look for.
Yep.
But this looked fantastic.
Yeah.
I think some of the visuals are fantastic. It's like somebody told Warner Bros. That their universe was too dark, and they're like, you mean visually, right?
Yeah.
Okay, James, turn the contrast up. Make everything super duper bright.
Yeah.
But you know what? It looks fantastic. Like, it looks really good.
I think it looked really good, yeah.
All right, let's get into another bit of a general question here. Don't give away too much, but were there any acting performances or characters that you particularly liked in the film? Don't tell us why, just tell us the characters that you liked.
There's so many. I loved Weasel. I think he was great.
Weasel.
Actually played by Sean Gunn.
Oh, yes.
James Gunn's brother.
In your motion capsule.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it might have been, but it looked really good.
Very funny.
Who else was there? I think the standout man goes to King Shark. King Shark was just my favorite. Every scene he was in. Nom nom. Bird. Yeah, I mean, just like his punchlines just kind of reminded me of Groot in a way. He's kind of like the DC version of
exactly,
Groot.
yeah.
But I kind of like him even more, man. I think he's...
Oh, me too, yeah.
He's just such like a lovable character. And even like the way he looks as well. Like
he's so cute.
Yeah. He's kind of like this stumpy little shark.
Like clumsy looking guy.
Yeah, absolutely loved him. Sylvester Stallone did a really good performance there.
They didn't specify on the backstory of King Shark.
No, not
but
really.
I would be interested to know what happened there.
I'm very
Is it sort of
interested
like
to know.
a man-shark hybrid gone wrong?
Yeah.
Or was it just like some? Apparently, he's a descendant of a god. They
Yeah.
said that in a trailer.
There was a lot of exposition in the film, like
At the
a lot
start?
of sort of one-liners at the start. Yeah,
Yeah, to sort of introduce us to the characters.
yeah, because obviously you've got so many, so you kind of just have to
You have to get it quickly out there.
get them all out there.
Yeah. Set it all up.
I think just quickly, I think Bloodsport was also really good. Idris Elba.
Idris Elba, I love him
yeah,
in this movie.
I think he did a fantastic job in this film. I'm very excited to see where his character stands in the future of the DCEU.
Hopefully they bring him back, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. I'm very excited to see what he does. Harley Quinn in this film, honestly, I kind of felt like she was better in the original. Yeah, just something about her in this film. She just kind of got lost in it a bit.
She seemed a bit like... Because, look, James Gunn said, as all directors do in an interview, I had so much freedom on this movie. I could kill anybody I wanted. Guys, that's complete BS.
Yeah.
There is no way this man would have been able to kill Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Because Warner Bros. Love Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, and I wouldn't be surprised if they told James Gunn, you have to put her in the movie, don't kill her, she has to have a big role.
Yep.
And then James Gunn sort of went, oh, right, well, I have a good script here, let me see if I can work her into it.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. She kind of found her way into this.
She was sort of just there.
Yeah. In
Whereas
the
everyone
original,
else-
it was a lot better executed, even though it was
Really?
a worse film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sort of agree.
Yeah.
But I think she has some good moments too, so we'll get into it.
Yeah.
My favourite character in this is Rick Flag, man.
Rick Flag. Oh wow.
Joel Kinnaman, I take my hat off to you, sir.
Cool.
I hardly even remember the guy in the first
Yeah.
movie. I haven't rewatched the first movie since 2016. My favourite character in the film by a significant margin. And then I'd probably say Idris Elba comes in with Bloodsport. Idris Elba, I've always loved the guy, but he's been in terrible movies consistently.
Yeah.
He's finally in a movie that's good. He gives a good performance. He's the leading guy. Awesome moments, some of them, bro.
Yeah.
I'm
Really
get
cool.
into it.
Wow, I honestly wouldn't have expected that.
Rick Flag.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love King Shark as well.
Yeah. Cool.
I mean, who doesn't, man?
Yeah.
Like, I want, like, all the King Shark merchandise. I want, like, a King Shark pillow. And
Nom.
I want a pop vinyl of King Shark. Like,
Oh, yes.
I need all of this stuff. Warner Bros., just please take my money. You did something good for a change. I want to, I want to support it.
Support this.
Yeah.
What's happening? Yeah.
Do more of this.
Do more.
Yeah.
Bold.
In terms of sound, how did you like the music just briefly and any of the sound effects that you really liked or anything like that?
In terms of music, I was listening to the playlist on the way here, or the album rather, and a lot of it's just kind of like splices of like themes, and they're all just kind of repeats on the album. Nothing really stood out to me, but it felt more so like when I was watching the film, the music complemented it, and it kind of felt like this epic sort of theme.
Oh, yeah.
But then listening to it on Spotify, it was kind of like, I kind of expected more.
Right.
So it's not bad, but it's also not like memorable in any sort of way. Yeah.
It's sort of like above your standard MCU, but like below something like The Dark Knight or even like Batman v Superman or something in terms of the scores.
It's a good way to put it, yeah.
I think sometimes a lot of the really cool shots are given like guitar pieces from non-original songs. And it's so cool, like it works really well.
Yeah.
But it's not, I don't think some of it is original music.
Yeah.
And so you sort of have to take that into account. I don't think there's a Suicide Squad theme that I heard or anything like that. I think that was just really cool music.
There might have been. Yeah, I think there was one on the playlist.
Right.
But yeah, it's kind of forgettable. You don't really place it as being the Suicide Squad theme.
Yeah.
But yeah, James Gunn has like a really good taste for like, picking out songs that aren't original music, which I love in his films. Yeah.
All right. We are about to hit the 25-minute mark, and we're also about to dive into spoilers. So if you have not seen this movie, we would recommend that you go and see it. If
Yeah.
you're a fan of comic book movies, you're going to have an absolutely great time. It's an incredibly fun movie. And so, yeah, that's your warning. Goodbye for now.
See
We'll
ya.
catch you next time. For those who've seen the film, we're going to talk spoilers now. The opening scene of this movie is an absolute bloodbath.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic, mate.
Yeah.
We have like a quick introduction to Yondu.
Michael Rooker.
Yeah. And playing Savant.
Which is an interesting opening, right?
Very, very weird. I'm interested to see how I feel about that on a rewatch because the character dies a couple minutes after and we start the film and it's quite a long scene with him sitting in that prison.
Yeah.
So, yeah, how did you think about the opening of the film?
Look, if it wasn't for like all of the marketing around, you know, who's going to die, who's going to survive in the Suicide Squad. I mean, it came directly from like James Gunn and Warner Bros.
Yeah,
advertising.
who's going to kill everyone.
Yeah, who's going to die in which order.
Yeah.
If they like just forgot about all of that and just promoted the film regularly, this would have subverted my expectations in such a big way.
Yeah.
But even still, like the amount of characters that died in this first opening sequence, which is it was
Fantastic.
insane, man. Like, I definitely still think it like subverted my expectations. I mean, you know, you've got Michael Rooker, you know, getting I think his head was blown up by Amanda Waller.
Yeah, and that was cool to see that actually. You know,
Yeah.
Amanda Waller pressing the button.
I think she was another standout role in this film.
Definitely.
And she was really good in the first as well. You know, this kind of just maniacal figure who just doesn't give, you know, a rat's ass about anything. They just want to just push on with their motive.
Perfect representation of the character in other forms of media, by the way. I've seen her in some of the animated films.
Oh, yep.
She's almost like this repulsive, like, thug of a character.
Yep.
And Viola Davis, like, is a fantastic actress, and
Yeah.
you've got to love her. Mm-hmm. But you still don't like the character. And Viola Davis really portrays the unethical aspect of that and sort of like the dark.
No,
like,
yeah.
Doesn't
I
have any friends.
Completely agree with that, yeah.
Nailed it, bro.
Yeah, and I think we've got a few Rewatch Awards nominees coming in with this film. I definitely think there were some really good performances. I mean, just going into more characters that like died. I mean, you got like Pete Davidson just getting like blasted in the head with like.
Was he one of the
rounds.
returning characters?
No, he was an original character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just the fact that they hired like all of these A-list actors to just come in and just die on the spot was just really cool to me. There was so many more. I can't remember their names.
Even Weasel, like, he jumps off
I
the
know.
thing and then he can't swim.
And even when they were on the plane, it's like, am I sitting next to a dog? Is that a
Yeah,
dog? And then
yeah.
they're like talking about like what breed it was. Just like cool little nuggets of humor like that. I found were really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked Rick Flag from that first scene. I felt like I sort of felt sorry for him. He's being put like with this team of idiots.
Yeah.
And he's put in this horrible situation. Like, I think the beach scene where they actually go down and there's rockets and... I mean, I was surprised by how gory this film was. Pete Davidson's character goes out, he stands up, he sort of surrenders to the enemy.
Yeah.
And then his face gets shot off.
I know.
And I was like, oh my, you can see everything.
It kind of made me wonder why he did it though. There wasn't really any explanation for it, right?
I think he made a deal behind the scenes with them.
Oh, yep.
But then it sort of like backfired on him.
Okay.
I feel like he sold them out. That's what
Gotcha.
happened. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yep.
So he was sort of saying like, hey guys, like I brought them here. Like I told you everything.
made a deal,
You're going to
right?
save me, right? Like,
But either way, like he still had the bomb planted in his head, so
yeah, true.
his plan was just kind of
But then again, these are idiots.
yeah, exactly.
They're
It's
not-
a Suicide Squad, right?
It's kind of up there.
Yeah.
So good. But yeah, I felt like that whole scene was really visceral, just with the action, and yeah, there was something just like war film-esque about how the violence was portrayed.
Yep.
You know, coming onto the beach and just like rockets and bullets, and everyone is dying.
Everyone is dying.
Everyone is dying, and there was a real impact to the violence with because of the gore. So I really enjoyed that.
And another thing that I quite liked from James Gunn is that like he didn't just bring us in with all of these new characters right at the start, you know? He kind of introduced them in waves. So, you know, you've got wave one where majority of people die, and then you've got like the second wave, which is like the new Suicide Squad, you could call it.
Like the A-Team.
Yeah, and then you've got like Harley Quinn doing something
and Rick
else.
Flag,
and Rick
and they
Flag.
sort of make their way into the...
So it's kind of cool how they just converge along the way rather than bringing in this massive wave, just boom.
It's not like, here's the 15 members of the Suicide Squad and we're going to see them slowly get picked off. It was sort of just like all right, let's have fun, kill all these people. And then with the rest, we'll make you care about them.
Yeah.
And then we'll kill all of them too.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool how he did some of those deaths, man.
Do we want to run through the characters now and just talk about...
You want to highlight characters? And
I'll bring them up.
Perhaps we won't go as chronologically as we normally do. Then if we want to talk about the characters, we'll just talk about our favourite moments with the characters, and
we can do that.
Any other particularly interesting moments you want to chat about?
Yeah, I might just go down in like the order and letterbox. So we've already touched on Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. In my personal opinion, I felt like she just had more of the spotlight in the first film, and that she was more fleshed out in it. The sequel, if you want to call it a sequel, she just kind of got left behind. She still had some cool moments though, you know.
Definitely.
There was this one sort of hallway fight scene.
Oh, fantastic.
Albeit though, it kind of looked animated to me in a way. When they panned the camera out and they had her like running up on the walls and coming down and everything, it kind of looked computer generated to me. Right. I don't know if that's just me being like really picky or what.
Interesting.
But just some of the movements looked really strange.
Right.
But it was a really cool scene, like the shot of it. And then obviously, you know, her sort of final sequence jumping into Starro's eye was also really cool.
Yeah, cool. I think there's a part with Margot Robbie that needs to be cut. And that is the sort of marriage subplot with the handsome dictator who she kills. That was maybe like 10, 15 minutes maybe. It no excuse, it's got to go. Yeah. It's got to go.
Yeah, that was horrendous.
Yeah, that was the worst part of the film for me. Sure. By considerable margin.
I completely agree with that. And even kind of with the other general, I felt like both that general and then I don't know what you would call
the previous
prince,
one. Yeah.
Cut them both out. You've already got like Thinker in the film, who is a major villain. So just have him in there. You don't need this sort of government of, I kind of forgot what the country was called.
Corto
Maltese or whatever. You don't need those characters. There's so many in the film already. You don't need to introduce more villains.
I think the prince is the most egregious example because literally you could have just started with the other general. You could have just gone from the get-go. This is the general. He's a bad guy. Like, you know, we've gotten worse in comic book movies. And, you know, hey, look, this is a bad guy. Go with it.
Yeah.
After all, he's a general. You know, he's not a big part of the film. We don't need this backstory. But I feel like this was Warner Bros. Coming in and saying, we need this. Put it in.
Yeah, because it's kind of like a seller on their films now. They know if they've got Harley Quinn attached to the title of the film, it's going to make profit. So
right.
I think Margot Robbie's well vested herself in the future of the DCEU. She's got...
Yeah, I mean, she was the producer on Birds of Prey, so, you know, she's working with the Warner Bros. People and very highly valued in terms of... And I think she's the most valued, which is surprising. You'd think Superman or Batman would be.
Exactly, right?
No, it's Margot Robbie.
It's Margot Robbie.
And that's okay. She's great. I really like her as Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
I just think that the guy's got to go. The prince, he's got to go. Cut from the movie. Waste of time. However, it does give, I think, perhaps one of the best character moments of the Harley Quinn character, and that's when she kills him, and she sort of goes on this monologue about how she's had a boyfriend in the past who, you know, is obsessive and all of these things, and so she's describing the Joker, and I feel like that scene is perhaps the best character moment of Harley Quinn so far.
No, that's a very fair statement. I just feel like Harley Quinn just needs some time off from these films. I mean, she's been in the original Suicide Squad. She's been in Birds of Prey, her own film, and then she's in this film. She might have been in more. I can't quite remember.
I think that's it.
But bring some new characters, and we've seen a lot of Harley Quinn. You don't need to solely focus on her now. So if she ends up in a future film, that's going to be okay. She just probably couldn't have as much, screen time. Focus it on someone else, which is what this film kind of achieved in somewhat
For sure,
of a way.
definitely.
Moving on to Idris Elba, as Robert Dubois or Bloodsport. Fantastic performance, man. I think he absolutely nailed it. A lot of people are saying that he's kind of the replacement for Will Smith.
I mean, he is Deadshot.
He's Deadshot, right? Yeah.
How sick is that goddamn helmet, bro?
So cool.
It's an alien-inspired look.
It definitely looks like Alien, right? Yeah.
And I mean, I will say, Suicide Squad 2016 won the Oscar for Best Makeup.
Mm-hmm. What?
Yeah, so it's an Oscar-winning film.
Oh my god! I had to take that in.
This film has really good costumes, really good designs of the characters.
Yeah.
Harley Quinn's makeup is looking as good as ever. She really looks like the animated character in live action. A lot better than what she was in Birds of Prey. I don't know how they managed to make Margot Robbie look unattractive in Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
But they've fixed that, which shouldn't have been too hard, but
let's go.
they fixed that. But also the character looks exactly like she does in the comics.
Yeah.
And so does everybody else. Like, we've got vibrant costumes. Peacemaker's costumes is great. Bloodsport looking awesome.
I know.
Even the likes of like Polka Dot Man have vibrant and cool suits. It's something that I think the MCU doesn't do as well, that DC really does well.
Yeah. Even with the you might criticize me on this point, but to an extent, some of the CW shows have also pretty good costumes. The Flash has a pretty cool costume. I think it tops off just above, what's his name?
The other Flash?
Yeah.
Ezra Miller.
I think I prefer Grant Gustin's Flash costume
Interesting.
to Ezra Miller's. Just because I grew up with it, man, and it looks like the Flash. But yeah, I think DC's always had a strong point with, makeup and
ever since the Nolan films, for sure.
Yeah, they've got a really good niche in it. If you didn't have anything else to say about him, we'll
about
keep
Bloodsport.
On. Yeah.
Oh no, I've got more things to say.
Go on.
Heart of the film. I didn't expect to have the emotional attachment to some of these characters that I really did. Bit of a subplot with his daughter, very similar to Deadshot, but then again, they did it very differently. It's a very teenage daughter, and they're saying "F you" to each other like 10 times when they first see it. You're thinking like, "Oh, this is a bit different. We haven't really seen this sort of relationship." And then he sort of takes on Ratcatcher 2 as the surrogate daughter. And I think that was brilliant. They really did that justice. And by the time at the end when he was saving her, I'll admit, like, I was feeling the emotions.
I'm completely with you there. Like, I felt like at some point, maybe a few tears would have come out.
It was coming.
It was coming, bro. Yeah. And I don't, cry often in a theater. I don't even think I have.
I will say I've cried when I first watched Avengers Endgame.
Oh, well, there you go.
When the big battle was coming, I showed a nerd tear. But I'm proud of that.
Fair enough.
It was beautiful.
But yeah, there was a lot of emotion in this film that just kind of came out of nowhere. And I think in a way, Idris Elba and
Ratcatcher
2's Daniela Melchior, I think she was great as well. Such like an underrated performance and such a weird character. But
should we talk about her?
Yeah. Let's jump on and talk about her for a moment. I just wanted to mention here quickly. Taika Waititi's actually Ratcatcher 1.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Very bizarre.
I don't know why.
I think he might have been involved in producing this film or something.
I think he is very close with James Gunn.
He was tied in with this film somehow, and obviously he's died. He's not alive anymore. The character is dead. Ratcatcher 1, the original, is dead.
Yeah.
So it's a throwaway role. It's just like a cool role to know that Taika Waititi is this character's father.
Yeah.
It's not going to go anywhere.
But I think I know what character's next on the list, and I'm not really ready for it.
Yeah. What is it?
No. We'll keep talking about Ratcatcher for a second, but that just popped into my head because there's one of these characters that I have a bit of some anger that I want to vent. But let's talk about Ratcatcher still. Very weird power, but they somehow made her a good character anyway. That's an achievement in itself. With Idris Elba having that fear of rats, when him and Ratcatcher 2 were on the ground towards the end of the movie and the rats were coming over them, perfect parallel to the origin story of Ratcatcher with her and her dad being homeless. I thought that whole scene where she's talking about that, it's an exposition dump.
Yeah.
But they did it in a creative way.
Yeah.
There was sort of like she was sitting in the bus and the window was sort of like showing the backstory.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of other directors would have just gone, let's just cut to a flashback, or let's just, cut to a few scenes on her face, like, different angles or whatever. She's going to tell a story. It's going to be quick. This was done really creatively.
Yeah. And I think there was a lot of creative decisions in that aspect in this film in terms of, shooting the scene. There was one scene, I'll jump ahead here for a moment, where we have Peacemaker and Rick Flag, I want to say, were fighting, but it might have been Bloodsport, and we have Peacemaker's helmet, and
yes, that was such a cool visual.
Such a cool visual, right? It's so unique, and I was watching, and I was like, please don't cut it, and it kept on going, and you could see they just kind of made their way across the helmet, as the characters like kind of followed the camera. Such a cool shot, man. Shout out to whoever thought of that, because that was just epic.
I will say this film has style, man.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I look for just in whether I like a film, because I really enjoy looking at the, taking in the visual components, looking in the background, seeing what's going on. How does the special effects look?
Yeah.
What's the aspect ratio? Like, I love all of these things. And it's just it was so much better than like quick cutting action, shaky cam garbage. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
All of the action was really,
cool.
really good.
Yeah.
I felt. Especially, and as soon as I saw that helmet shot, I was like, oh, this is good.
I know.
That's good.
Yeah. James Gunn does a lot of that stuff. Like, he definitely, you can't argue it. He has style in his films.
He's going the extra mile.
I know.
I appreciate that, because a lot of people don't in these superhero films.
It's so cool to see it in this genre, man, and it's extremely refreshing. Yeah. John Cena as Peacemaker or Christopher Smith? You start first, because I feel like this might be the character that you have problems with.
No, okay.
This is the character you were mentioning before.
Yes. Yeah. I don't have a problem with how this character is written. I know I feel exactly how they wanted me to feel about this character.
Yep.
Because I absolutely hate this guy. This guy is a hypocrite, and I think that was pretty obvious. Like, the movie sort of points that out. But then to have him go ahead and kill my favorite character, the character that I feel was the human in the movie, the normal human. Which,
when you think about it, is the only hero in the film. Every other person's a villain.
He goes ahead and as soon as Rick Flag and Peacemaker were fighting, like, I was getting attached to Rick Flag, and I was like, please, Rick Flag, get through the movie, please. Yeah. And then when we have the big reveal that America is sort of behind the Starro project, I was like, oh, that's messed up, bro. Yeah. The world has to know about this. And Rick Flag was saying the same thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so on the same wavelength as Rick Flag. Yeah. And then they just went ahead and did him like that. Oh, that fight scene, I was literally, well, probably not literally, I was quite relaxed, but
you were on the edge of your seat.
I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
From an emotional standpoint. Everything, I'm like, Rick Flag was on top of him, and I'm like, there's shattered glass on the floor. No, there's shattered glass on the floor. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I knew that was coming, and
it's good though, right? It's not. I hate this decision. Why did they do this?
Oh no, I feel exactly how I think.
Yeah,
James
they wanted
Gunn
you to
wants
feel
me
like
to
that.
feel.
It's kind of like, I want to coin it as like the Dolores Umbridge theory, right?
Right.
You hate the character because they want you to hate the character.
It's like John Walker in The Falcon and Winter Soldier as well.
And that's how you do a good performance. That is what is the definition of, acting, is making a performance that the script wants you to feel that way. And I think John Cena, who hasn't had good roles, if I'm going to be completely honest.
How is he in... I wanted to ask how he was in Fast and Furious 9, because in this film, he's a side character, doesn't have a lot to do, not very dramatic sort of work. But they have announced a TV series with him, which he will be the star in. So I want your perspective on his acting skills. Can he carry a show?
I think John Cena kind of proved himself to me in this film, if I'm going to be completely honest. But there's a lot of issues that come with TV shows. I mean, budgeting and just like production value in general. They tend to worsen from films. So to say his performance in The Suicide Squad is going to be equal of that in his own TV show, I can't guarantee that. But from what I saw in this film, he has proven himself. I mean, he's done some horrendous roles in the past. Fast and Furious was not good, if you wanted to know. So I'm decently excited for a TV show with him. I just feel like there were probably better choices in this cast.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Who would you have rather see?
Idris Elba.
Yes.
100%.
Me too. I would rather see a TV show of any other character. If you ask me, what is the character you don't want to see again?
Yep.
What's your least favourite character, or who are you least looking forward to seeing again? Peacemaker.
Okay. Interesting.
And the guy dies, but then he doesn't.
Yeah. It just comes back to life,
and
right?
that pisses me off.
Yeah.
That angers me.
Yep.
Because if you're going to tell me that the character I really don't like is now dead, that's going to make me happy.
Yeah.
And then in your post-credit scene, and I'm tired of saying it, post-credit scenes are advertisements for the next project.
They are.
In the advertisement for the next project, you tell me that he's alive, even though he got shot and then a building fell on him.
I don't really agree with that decision at all. I think he had a really solid ending in this film, and it could have been left like that. And you've got characters, Idris Elba, even Daniela Melchior as Ratcatcher, who could have had their own TV show, and they're still alive. Choose them over a character that was dead, essentially dead in the film.
A lot of people walked out before the credits, before the post-credit scene.
Yeah, which you see quite a lot, which is surprising, right? Because we've had a lot of comic book films.
And then again, it just shows that a lot of people aren't that invested.
Yeah, they're not averse to these sort of films,
They'll show up if it's good.
Yeah.
If they don't, they won't.
I did quite like John Cena's sort of his betrayal of his motives, of his name, really. I quite liked that. And it kind of reminded me of Homelander from The Boys in a way, where, just flashing back to season 1 of the show, where he kind of has to make the decision to kill all these passengers on a plane.
Oh, that's such a good scene.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of that in a way. His name is Peacemaker, but he's not really...
He's not living up to his name.
Yeah, which I think Rick Flag had such a good moment there when he said Peacemaker or something along the lines of...
What a joke.
What a joke,
and he dies.
Oh. Really good. Really good.
I love Rick Flag, man.
I think even just Peacemaker would have, sufficed.
I think that,
and I think that's what they were going to do. And then what a joke, just added on.
Yeah.
I'm not annoyed by it, but
Yeah.
it works really well. I think that was probably one of the best lines in the film. And then you see simultaneously at the same time, John Cena's character just kind of flip around. You know, he's not Peacemaker anymore. He's, what's the opposite of Peacemaker? Destruction.
Yeah.
Something. Destruction.
Warmaker or something. War Machine.
Something along those lines.
I thought John Cena was going to have a bit of an arc there. I thought, you know, it would have angered me less if he killed Rick Flag and then went, oh, maybe I'm not living up to my name. But then he just tries and goes to kill Ratcatcher.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favourite moments in the movie where John Cena is about to kill Ratcatcher and then there's this wild transition of 8 minutes later.
So
8 minutes
weird,
before,
right?
rather. 8 minutes before. And we see how Idris Elba, Bloodsport, falls down.
Yeah.
What a
Boom.
cool visual.
Boom.
He goes bang, bang, bang down the stories.
Which you would have thought his legs would have broken, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to die a couple of times during that.
So did I.
But then again, I was like, please don't die, please don't die. Like, I love these characters, man.
Yeah.
He falls down, and what a superhero sort of like comes down. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to...
Oh, you're in trouble now.
And then it works even better because there's that emotional attachment.
Exactly, right?
Ratcatcher's like his surrogate
They
daughter.
set it up along the way. So, you know, I commend James Gunn for doing that, man, and the writing team, because they laid the groundwork and then they executed it in the final sequence, which it's just good to see it for once, man. It's just not... It's packing a punch this time, you know. It feels real, and that's when the emotions come in.
Yeah.
I have a connection to this cast now. I'm excited to see where they go, and it's just not a throwaway film, you know. Yeah.
Brilliant. And I love the scene where Peacemaker shoots at Bloodsport, Bloodsport shoots at Peacemaker, and again, another callback to what was previously said in the film. Bloodsport used a smaller bullet because Peacemaker at the start, the very first time they saw each other, he said, I would be more precise than you because I would use a smaller bullet and my bullet would go through your bullet hole.
Yeah.
Bloodsport took that, so he used a smaller bullet and he killed Peacemaker as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Moving on to your favourite.
Wholesome dad, by the way.
Wholesome dad. Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag. You started off because this is your favourite.
Okay, so I know Joel Kinnaman from House of Cards.
Oh, he's in House of Cards.
In House of Cards, in about season 4 or season 5, which is like just before Kevin Spacey got, you know, found out. He plays like the guy running for president opposite Frank Underwood, so he's like a big part of the season.
Yep.
And he's really good in that. And I love him in this too. He's such a lovable, ordinary guy. Some of my favourite characters in superhero movies are the humans. Because I feel like, you know, we look to superheroes thinking that we could see the best attributes about humans, right?
Yep.
And when you see a guy like this, a guy who has no powers, he's literally like an ex-Marine or whatever. And, you know, sure, he's doing some pretty dodgy stuff. And he's not, you know, a superhero by any means.
Yep.
But, like, he's an ordinary guy, so that makes me connect to him more.
Yeah.
This is why I like characters like Hawkeye and Batman. You know, Batman is one of the coolest characters ever because he's just a guy.
He's just a guy in a suit.
And I think Rick Flag was an absolute legend. I loved him.
Yeah.
So fun, wholesome, and yeah, it really hits you hard when he gets the old glass to the heart.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I think he delivered a really, really solid performance in this film. From what I can remember, it's better than the original Suicide Squad. I just kind of forgot about him in this film. And then now that you're saying it, I'm kind of remembering how good he was. He had some really good scenes, great character development, and just some solid lines in general, man. I think he was a standout role in this film again. So many standout roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone does their job, man. Everyone does their job.
Did you have anything more on Rick Flag?
Bring him back? No.
No.
I think the world will fall in love with this character as soon as like the spoilers embargo lifts and people start talking about this movie.
Yep.
I think he's going to become a fan favorite. And I've already listened to a podcast where they said, I'm sure they'll bring him back if the fans demand it. I love this guy. He's dead. I'm sorry, he's dead.
Don't bring him back.
Let's not be the MCU where everyone dies, but actually nobody dies. Mm-hmm. Let's have consequences.
Yep.
Except John Cena's alive. Should have been killed rather. The lady who came up to me after the movie in the cinemas was asking me about the post-credit scene. She was asking who it was because she couldn't make out who it was because of the makeup on the face.
Yeah.
And she was with her boyfriend, and apparently, I think her boyfriend said that it was Rick Flag. And so she came up to me and she thought it was John Cena. So I was just walking down and she was like, oh, excuse me. And I'm like, oh no, here we go. A social interaction. Because, I'm there by myself. I'm like, oh, have I done something wrong?
Why are you sitting here by yourself?
She's like, oh, I know, because I was one of the last people there because I was, staying all the way to see the post-credit scene. And she was like, oh, was that Rick Flag or John Cena? And I was like, oh, no, unfortunately, that was John Cena. Yeah. and she was like, oh, okay, thank you. And then she just walked off. I'm like, wow, some people really, are not... It's just a reminder about the general audience, you know? Yeah. Sometimes it's not as clear to other people as it would be to us. Yeah. People who know these actors and know the characters and know that there's a Peacemaker show coming. I forgot to tell her that there was a Peacemaker show coming and that's why that he's still alive. But I remembered, as soon as she left, I was like, oh, I should have said that he's alive because of the TV show. But anyway, there's no HBO Max in Australia, so we can't watch it anyway.
Shame. Yeah.
Not that I was going to watch it.
Sylvester Stallone as...
Oh my God, man.
Nanway or King Shark. And
I
just want to credit the... I can't find him here, but...
Is it the guy who is...
Someone else played him...
Physically.
I don't have it here, but credit to him as well. But Sylvester Stallone, man... I loved his one-liners in this. He's got bird and hound and I am reading book. Just his pronunciation and the stature of the character and
so good.
How he walked around and just tore people apart and ate heads and picked people up. Nom nom. It's so good, man.
Brilliant.
And then we kind of get a Hulk moment. I'm thinking of this just off the top of my head now. We kind of get a Hulk moment where Bloodsport's kind of King Shark, Nom Nom, and then it's with the Hulk, it's kind of Hulk Smash.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
I thought that scene, by the way, was so Avengers-like.
Yeah.
But I was so here for it. I was let's go.
It's the gruesome Avengers,
I was so into it by that stage, bro. The third act of this movie was really, really good.
I think it gets better as it goes along, if I'm going to be completely honest.
I think maybe the first 30 minutes is probably is really good, and then when we get into the Harley Quinn subplot, that's the worst part of the film. But then as soon as the third act gets kicked into gear, we start learning about Starro and everything like this. Very Aliens-like, by the way, in terms of the actual movie with the whole onto the face sort of thing, and
very, very Aliens-like
on a spaceship that's gets brought back and. As soon as that got going, I was like, oh, let's goddamn go. And they were walking one way because they were going to leave the battlefield. And then Idris Elba stops. He turns around and he goes back. And I'm like, yes. Let's go. Yes. Superheroes.
Yep.
And I have to remember that they're not good people.
Yeah. Just casually murdered 27 children.
Yeah.
As you do as a weasel. I think James Gunn, the fact that he just kind of just threw in, Starro into the plot and just had fun with it, it's just stupid fun, but it's executed so well.
I thought the villain was really quite entertaining.
Yeah.
Not there's not a lot of depth there.
Yeah.
But the visual and, just the concept is Starro was the first ever Justice League villain in the comics, by the way. So
Cool.
This is a huge DC villain.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yep.
I mean, the DCEU. Let's just put all your cards on the table. Let's go. Let's see your best stuff.
It's not really what you would expect from a comic book film, right? Moving over to Marvel, they tend to stick with their more generic villains. It's just cool to see DC embracing this sort of wild, fun route of things and just introducing Starro into the mix.
Yep.
And he's not really a villain. He's more so used as like a plot device to
the third act
give
battle
these
sort of thing.
characters like depth and make them just destroy things. I mean, they're the Suicide Squad after all. So yeah, really cool. Well done. Viola Davis is Amanda Waller. We touched on her previously. I think she had a fantastic performance in this. Just menacing, just pure evil, right? I think she had a really, really great role in this.
I sort of forgot how she was in the first film, but she was so good here. And does exactly what she needs to do and makes you feel like overjoyed when she gets knocked unconscious by another lady of power behind her.
Oh, I loved her one-liner as well. With the go back to weather or whatever.
Yeah. Go back to the, what was it? The, the satellite or something.
The satellite.
Yeah.
You got some, that was a really good line.
Yeah. Just took control. Someone with morals came in and I was like, yes.
Yep.
Because I was thinking like, oh, how are they going to explain this with the whole chips in the head and...
Yeah.
Brilliant.
There was only two ways it could go, right? Either she blows them up or
they take Waller out, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, surely not.
I thought like maybe this is like predicting the film even before I saw it. It was like, oh, maybe someone's going to have to take her out or something. Like maybe, there's going to be like a spy covert, like double cross sort of situation. Someone's got to go take out Waller or something. But thankfully, a rare moment of morality in this movie. A good person steps up to do the right thing.
Finally, the only heroes really in the film are Rick Flag and then this crew that Amanda Waller has. They're the only heroes. Everyone else is a villain.
Pretty awkward work meeting the next day, I would think. And
why did you knock me out?
Pretty awkward water cooler conversation, I'd imagine, in the office. So, how's the head, Amanda?
Poor choice of words there.
Not good. But yeah, everyone is morally compromised in this movie. Even Idris Elba at the end. I was like, you should be leaking that. Mm-hmm. You should be leaking the information, letting everyone know. Like, that's what Black Widow did in The Winter Soldier. Yeah. So you think they might do that, but no, they don't. They use it as a leverage, as a bargaining tool. Rick Flag wouldn't have been too happy about that. That's why I love him.
Yep. Polka Dot Man, David Dalmartian.
It's like a Denny V situation.
Is another really underrated character. I think his performance is pretty good.
Yeah, this man's a fantastic actor.
I mean, he's appeared in The Dark Knight. Yeah.
Prisoners. He played Runner 2049. Just he's been in like every DC universe ever. Like I think he's he's been in the CW. He's been in the animated films.
Really?
Like my guy's all over it in terms of DC. He must be a huge fan.
Cool.
Because he's managed to get himself into the DCEU, The Dark Knight.
Yep.
Like animated films, so that's cool. He's obviously got a contract with Warner Bros. Because all of the movies I think I've seen him in Warner Bros. Movies.
Yeah,
he's a really good actor, and I love Polka Dot.
I think he did a fantastic job in this. And he kind of reminds me of like the Wanda of the DCEU. I mean, he's like really shallow, but if you annoy him, I mean, his power is like just absolutely devastating. He would destroy you.
So cool how he had like those gauntlets and he flicked them on. It's all colourful and just, rare moments do we get just like this rainbow sort of neon, just explosion of colour. It's really good.
I think it looked really good as well when they flew out. It it wasn't bad looking. It was good use of CGI.
Yeah. Can I say as well? I just went. Wait, no, it didn't. The trailer in this movie showed him saying, "I'm a superhero." I saw that in the trailer, and I'm like, I bet he's going to say that, and he's going to get squashed 5 seconds after
that's
that.
what happens.
And exactly that happened. I was so proud of myself.
You look around the theater like,
I was like, I called that.
Look at me.
No, I knew that's such a classic like subversion of expectation. Like, oh, look, he's really happy.
Yeah,
Squash.
it's kind of a cliche in a way. Yeah,
it was.
I think I saw
sad,
that coming as well. If I'm going to be honest.
But then again, you cared about him because we saw how much you cared about Milton. Mm-hmm.
That was hilarious, man. That whole sort of scene with Margot Robbie, Milton, and then
Milton.
He actually cared about this random dude. And if you go back and watch the scenes, Milton's just like randomly.
I didn't notice him, bro. That's so good. That's so good. That's so clever, man.
It's really cool that James Gunn kind of stuck with that chronologically. It's just like a cool little detail. Like
so much work.
You forget about it when you're watching it, but then
which is the joke, right?
Yeah, it's the joke. So fantastic job, man. It's just a really unique way of comedy in a film. We kind of already touched on Daniela Melchior and Ratcatcher 2 with Idris Elba, so we'll move on in the sake of time. Peter Capaldi as the Thinker, or Gaius Greaves. If you don't know, the Thinker is like a major DC villain.
Yeah, right.
I think he might be...
Because I know nothing about him.
You don't know anything about him. He's a major DC villain, kind of underused in this film in a way. He just kind of felt pushed on the back burner.
Also dies.
Yeah. And when I saw him die, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, they're just expelling characters now, which you can get away with it with, the detachable kid and Javelin.
Oh my god, that was so funny.
Yeah, but when you start using more significant characters as the Thinker, you kind of run into the problem of, oh man, when we run out of characters in the future with the DCEU and we want to use the Thinker, he's already gone.
Yeah.
So it's a shame that happened. I kind of would have liked to have him cut from this film. We didn't really need him. And then reintroduce somewhere else in the future for a more significant role.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he worked well in terms of, he's obviously the guy who gives us the exposition we need to get the third act going, give us some information about Starro. And I think that was really good, in terms of exposition. It was well done, which I think a lot of it is. There's a lot of cheap stuff at the start. Perhaps we'll talk about it just after I finish about this. But this, he gave a good performance, in my opinion, and I think he did what he needed to do. I didn't have any major problem with it, but then again, I have no idea about who this character is. Yeah. And even while I was watching it, I'm like, wait, what is this guy's powers? Like, I imagine he's smart because he looks like he's got a big head.
Incredibly smart, yeah. He can kind of predict things before they happen, in a way.
Right.
He appears on The Flash a lot. CW's The Flash. I think if you just had known more about the character and known how significant he was, you kind of would have been like, oh, it's a shame. Yeah,
wasted potential.
Yeah. But...
the other thing I was just talking about.
Yeah.
What was it? About, exposition.
Yep.
Okay, I need to talk about this. He's in prison because he put Superman in the ICU with a kryptonite bullet. No, he didn't.
No.
You can't do that. It's out of bounds. You can't do that. That's too, no. Yeah. I don't accept that. I don't accept that Superman was just flying along one day and suddenly Bloodsport, just for the heck of it, just went bang and shot Superman. That's not how Superman works. You don't just shoot Superman, even if it's with a kryptonite bullet.
Is it just for his name is just Bloodsport.
Just for fun, just for those.
Is he killing for sport?
Still, we don't even get here's Henry Cavill briefly, bang, bullet.
Yeah.
I could at least accept that.
Yeah.
But if you're going to not bring Superman back since Justice League, And then you throw his name around like this for the sake of giving us, making us think, oh, Bloodsports must be a good shooter.
It's bad faith, right?
It's just they haven't earned that.
They haven't earned that yet. Kind of what they did in the original Suicide Squad is when they were going through the different character profiles, they had like this information like show up in this neon glowing text. I was expecting that to come up, but it was just like a throwaway line, and I was like, oh, well, that's just pointless exposition. That just doesn't work. They had that a few other times in the film. Like I think we mentioned another one before. Can't remember what it is
just
now.
Going around and just being like, hey, look, this is Peacemaker. He is, his dad was a bad person and now he kills people for fun. It's like a bit of a leap there.
It's a problem you have with having so many characters in a film. I mean, it's bound to happen. You can't avoid it. And that's why you get characters like Bloodsport and Ratcatcher having more fleshed out storylines because they are the focus of the film. So yeah, it's a shame that they had all that pointless exposition, but it's bound to happen, unfortunately. So Jai Courtney as George Digger Harkness, or
Australian Boomerang.
Yeah, I think he is Captain Boomerang. A really surprising kill-off, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Really? Because he is an original.
He is an original. I kind of would have expected some of the originals to last a bit longer or last until the end. I can't remember quite how he dies. But he dies really early on. So we can't say much about him. I mean, he's Captain Boomerang. He's dead.
He had pretty cool, like, I saw him throw a couple boomerangs. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, and they had that cool
people's heads off. Dope. But then, he's dead. I thought it was really funny with the lines he did have about, he's obviously pretending, the character is Australian.
Is he?
And, Captain Boomerang.
Well, wait, sorry. I thought you meant
I'm not sure if Jai Courtney is Australian.
He might be. I'm not particularly sure. He is.
He is.
There you go.
Okay, that's great. But Captain Boomerang, like as a character, is also Australian. So he's putting on an outrageous Australian accent, and to be honest, I find that quite funny. Especially when saying, "Oh, what sort of dog do you think it is, mate?"
That was funny. Yeah, that line was good.
That was good, but to be honest, I couldn't really. Once he got killed off, I was like, okay, fine,
cool.
Didn't really matter.
Yeah. I didn't mind because obviously it's the Suicide Squad. People have to die.
Yeah. I think that's a really good part of this movie is that I feel like anyone could have gone.
Yeah.
Even except Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn, I could have seen anyone else dying.
Yeah. Major plot armor with Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Literally, I saw this in that hallway scene where she's breaking out and shooting people. I thought that was a really cool looking scene. There's a guy with a machine gun and he's shooting at her and the gun goes off and there's not even like a point of impact, doesn't get shot or anything. It's like, okay, Harley Quinn's got a bit of plot armor. Yeah.
So one time in the final act, she was like, Idris Elba was like, Harley, get to the high ground. Star Wars reference.
I was like, what?
and then she like leaps up like really high for some reason.
Oh yeah.
If you missed it, it almost looks like superpowers-esque.
Right.
It wasn't like a normal jump. It was.
Well, she's just a crazy normal person.
She's a normal person, so
she doesn't have a weapon a lot of the time in the film. It kind of bums me out. Like, give her like at least like a gun or like a pistol or two pistols or something stylish. Because she just has this javelin, which is a pretty funny running joke.
Yeah.
But like, if I was in that situation. I get that she's crazy, she's not thinking straight, but, get yourself a weapon.
Yeah.
Not just a javelin. So I'm looking at her and I'm like, hang on, Harley Quinn hasn't got a weapon.
Yeah.
And then she's okay.
I think she's resourceful though. I mean, she uses a lot of what's around her. She just randomly picks up a javelin and decides to use it.
Yeah, and the guy's like, give this to
it's kind of like, the King Frog in Shrek 3, where he's like, and then like dies.
And Morgan Freeman in the Lego Movie, where it's like, what on the belt to tell
exactly
you.
Like that.
Who changed the course of history.
guys.
Any other? Do you want to go to any other awesome moments that you really liked in the film? Because I think we're running out of time, sort of thing. So
Yeah. I'm just trying to think.
any other characters who are really big standouts for you in the film?
Not really. I mean, you've just got like all these disposable characters that were killed in the start, which, in the sake of time, we won't go through them. But, Michael Rooker, Nathan Fillion, Alice Braga, Pete Davidson, they all die.
It's all the first crew.
Which I find so funny, that the fact that they had all these really, really important actors just killed off. You don't see it often because it would cost a heck of a lot of money. But the film stands without them, which is good. I can't really think of any other moments off the top of my head. Okay. Did you have any in particular?
There was a couple really cool, like, Iron Man suit up scenes with Bloodsport and his extending guns.
Cool, yeah.
I just thought that was so awesome. And like, it kind of reminded me a bit of Power Rangers. And that's not what I expected Suicide Squad to remind me of. Yeah. But like, that's how it goes in Power Rangers. Like, they're extending their weapons, and there's always like this really heavy like guitar in the background that's really like and it's like so pumped up, ready to go. Like it's just unironically like, oh, look how cool this gun looks. Like, oh, it's extending out.
Yeah, he just kept like bringing things off and putting them on the end of it.
Yeah, that's exactly what the Power Rangers do.
They do like,
that? What they do is like they do all their like
Power Rangers lore.
They grab, like, they combine weapons and they put it all together and construct it. And I'm like, hang on a second, this is Power Rangers. And look, I love Power Rangers, and Bloodsport was my second favorite character in this movie. And
cool, yeah.
And even I just have to reiterate again, like, just that final battle when, they're teaming up. Bloodsport's giving orders. It's like the Avengers moment.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I watched Avengers recently, and maybe it's because it was a theatre experience, I'd never seen it before, but I actually enjoyed this more because...
You were more invested in this?
And it was more flawed characters, and I was more invested in the characters, and...
It looked better?
Yeah, that's true. Visually it does look a lot better. I was just so pumped up, ready to go. Like, some of the final battles in these sorts of movies are very usually big and CGI mess, but usually the best ones for me are the ones where I want to go down and fight with them.
Yeah.
Like, that's how, like, the scope and the scale makes me feel. Like, that's how I know it's a good one. And honestly, like, that was where I was sort of on the edge of, like, shedding a tear. I was like, this is just beautiful.
Yeah.
And, with Idris Elba and Ratcatcher's crying as she deploys the rats because she knows her dad would be proud.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
gosh. How are there so many rats? I mean, there was like millions there.
Yeah, maybe.
Where did they come from?
Maybe there is that many rats in those sort of
Corto Maltese.
Island countries.
Who knows?
Maybe they just... Oh, did you like the Ratatouille reference?
Yeah, that was good.
That was so good.
Yeah, which is funny because it's owned by Disney, which owns Marvel. So in a way, it's just another poke at Marvel.
Right. Yeah.
I just wanted to touch on briefly Idris Elba's kind of his leader storyline. He's set up, Viola Davis's Amanda Waller kind of gives him this opportunity to become a leader.
Yeah.
And I think throughout the film, he kind of realizes that he can do that on his own in a way.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, he's kind of, throwing off orders. King Shark, Nom Nom,
Harley, take
the high ground.
Yeah.
He kind of found his way in the film, becoming the leader of the group, so I can see him going on to lead the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, nice character arc.
So excited for that, man. I mean, having a film with Idris Elba, Ratcatcher, Harley Quinn, and King Shark.
Yeah, let's throw some cool more characters.
More disposable characters, because DC has so many of them.
Yeah, and either way, I'm going to sit through, if there is a sequel to this, I will sit through it nervous that Idris Elba's going to die every single time.
Yeah.
Like, so that's just how they've invested me in this character. So look, I think this movie was really great overall. do you want to move to the music segment, or shall we discuss briefly what you think the future is for James Gunn? Because he's going to go back to Marvel. Let's not forget.
Let's discuss the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
James Gunn, he's going to go back and do Guardians Volume 3.
Mm-hmm.
Warner Bros are like head over heels for James Gunn.
Mm. They're a savior.
they love him so much. Like, if James Gunn says jump, they're going to jump.
Yeah. They're like, okay, it's worked. We need to stick with this guy.
Yes.
We've finally found it.
It's exactly what they did with Zack Snyder.
I know. Yeah.
And then BVS happened. And then they said, well, actually, we don't like you anymore. Goodbye.
Yeah. It's good that James Gunn, has that other option with Marvel. He's like, okay, DC,
leverage.
if you're going to treat me wrong, I'm going back over to Feige and I'm going to make more films with them. So figure out what you're doing. I'm making more films for you, but you need to act responsibly.
Yeah.
So he's kind of got them both in his grasp, which is a really quick turnaround for him, because in a portion of time he was kind of cut from everything because of the allegations that came out against him. I mean, the guy's had the biggest turnaround. He's working for DC and Marvel simultaneously.
And look, the guy's a weirdo. I wouldn't want to hang out with him in real life. But I think this is a win against cancel culture, which I think is just incredibly toxic. And I think, we shouldn't be dragging up old tweets of people from 10 years ago, which is why he was fired. It wasn't, because of something he did. It's something he said on social media like 10
which
years
is
ago.
Messed up, right?
Like, get over yourselves, guys. Like, if you don't have to approve with people's, what they do, as long as it's not anything illegal or incredibly immoral. Like, I wouldn't want to hang out with James Gunn. I love this movie.
I know. Separate the actor or the director from, from the work.
You don't need to agree with them politically or agree with their social life or anything like this.
Exactly.
So I think this is a win for everyone, because not only does Marvel getting back to finish off the Guardians trilogy, which I imagine will be good.
Oh, so excited for that, man.
Chains are kind of off now, because there's no need to tie it into the Avengers movies anymore.
Although I must say I'm more excited for another Suicide Squad film with James Gunn, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, so what do you want from... Because he'll go to Marvel, he will go back to DC, I just know that. Because Warner Bros, they love him.
Yep.
So what do you want James Gunn to do? Do you want him to do a sequel? Is it called The Suicide Squad 2?
The Suicide Squad? The Suicide Squad Part 2? Or the Lego Movie Part 2?
It shouldn't... I tell you what. Sorry, I'll go back to the title for a second. It should have just been Suicide Squad : something. Like,
that's what I was thinking. Like
Suicide
Attack
Squad,
of Starro or...
Yeah, or like, Mission something, like Second Mission.
Yeah. Or even like some, throwaway title like... It's the Bloody Suicide Squad or something stupid like that to represent the film. But anything dark and grim and comedic that James Gunn's going to do, I'm down with it. Obviously, Marvel's not going to do that with Guardians, which is fine. So I'm looking to DC to stick with this dark format. I want them to stick with that, because that's what they're good at. They're good at doing dark stuff. I don't want some cheery Aquaman or Wonder Woman film. I don't want that. Who wants that? Let's be real.
Yeah, we want badass, real interpretations of the characters.
Yeah.
I would love to see James Gunn come back to do another DC movie. Warner Bros have famously tried to make him do a Superman movie. No,
I don't want
that. Keep him away from Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and The Flash and Cyborg.
I think any solo standalone films, he's not.
Let him do something a bit more wacky, which I'm sure is what he will be drawn to.
Yeah, that's what he wants anyway.
Yeah, not a Superman. No. So I would love to see him do The Suicide Squad 2, or they'll probably go The Suicide Squad : something, and I think that would be really cool. Or maybe let's see a Bloodsport standalone with Ratcatcher. I love directors who come in to the comic book format and do something different.
Yeah.
So.
And I think he expressed himself with this film.
Yeah.
It's different. It's not like anything you've seen before, and that's cool. Yeah.
Music segment, we touched on it briefly. Not a lot of good music in terms of the orchestral stuff, which is what we like to focus on.
Yep.
Because we just saw the film, I haven't had time to put something into the Rewatch playlist yet.
Yep.
However, I will listen to it. But you listened to it, did you find any standouts?
There was one.
Okay.
King Shark and the Clyrax.
Okay.
Which is like the music that plays when King Shark's having like a day at the aquarium.
Oh, that was so cute. Oh, he's such a cute
and
character.
then they betrayed him.
Oh, yeah.
You'll die for that.
Bro, that was shocking.
I'm like a King Shark stan now.
Yeah, bro.
Don't kill King Shark, otherwise
Bro.
I will freak out.
Oh, I thought he was gonna die when
They kept shooting him.
Yes, I was like, no,
How did he not die there, by the way?
Well, they have tough skin, but I don't know if it's that tough.
Yeah, that was very tough.
Yeah. But he's okay.
I just wanted to throw one question to you. I wrote this down a bit earlier on. If you were placed in the Suicide Squad, what character would you want to play?
What, like as an actor or something?
Yeah, so you're an actor. Which one would you want to play? Because I've got one in mind.
Out of these ones?
Out of these ones.
I mean, I want to say Rick Flag, but...
Go with Rick Flag. I think you want to play Rick Flag.
Yeah,
right?
I would... yeah, probably. I mean, I don't think... I wouldn't think John Cena or, or Polka Dot Man or anything like that. Like, I feel like Rick Flag's more in line with just my personality. Like, it's just more of the normal, like, sort of sensible guy. So I'd say Rick Flag, I think.
Yeah. I wrote this down because I just kind of thought of it, and I would want to play Polka Dot Man, if I'm going to be completely honest. Just like a stupid character that just to have fun with, man. Like, and just like kind of going out there and saying the Lego Batman movie has a lot of like these villains that are just like stupid. I think like Pencil Head's in there, and I think they even have like the Polka Dot Man in there as well.
Oh yeah.
Just playing any of those like stupid characters just for like fun.
The wacky ones.
I know. I feel like that would be like really, really cool. But yeah, just a random question.
Yeah. How the weirdest character, in my opinion, was definitely TDK.
Yeah.
Like when those arms came off,
Strange,
I'm like,
right?
what?
How are they like in the air?
Because all of these are comic book characters, and I'm like, who made this? And it must have been like a brief cameo in like some old comic book.
I think TDK has like one comic book frame in a comic book,
right.
And that's it.
Didn't sell out or something, and
and then they decided to focus on that, which is so cool in my opinion. It's just cool that they took that idea and just ran.
Someone was a TDK fan.
I know,
and came and saw this movie.
Cool, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
That's really cool.
There are those people out there.
I just wanted to bring up Polka Dot Man's mum, which was like a recurring sort of thing in the film.
That's kind of funny.
But it just came out of nowhere. Like, it's Starro, it's King Shark. I thought it was another really cool running joke.
That was a good joke. Yeah. I think the humor was pretty good in this movie. Definitely better than some of those, happy-go-lucky MCU movies.
Yeah.
A lot of the jokes didn't land for me, though. Maybe, like, it was probably 50-50. And there was a lot of tries. They were constantly trying to make jokes.
Yep.
A lot of the jokes were in the trailers, so therefore I saw them coming from a mile away. Definitely didn't make me laugh, but the theatre was laughing for the starfish butthole joke.
Oh, yeah.
Which is in the trailer, and I was like, even in the trailer, I was like, that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
And there wasn't any connection, was there? Or I guess there kind of was, but
yeah,
weird. So yeah, I don't know what you thought about the humor, but I thought some of it worked, some of it didn't.
Yeah, no, I pretty much agree with that. I think the more funny aspect of it was just like these stupid characters just having fun.
How good was it when they went through the freedom fighters and just murdered all of the good guys?
That was so funny.
That was probably the funniest like scene in the film, like the best sort of running joke.
Yeah. and how like
That was brilliant.
Cena and Idris Elba are like competing there, like I'm shooting this guy behind the back of my head. And, I think that was well done.
And then the chick's like, why did my people not inform me of your arrival? And they're like, I didn't see them. Didn't see them.
And then John Cena. Oh no, this was a good joke. John Cena was like, just like pretty much naked, just standing there. And then Idris Elba's like, you got tidy whities on, and he's like, that's racist.
Yes, that was good. That genuinely made me laugh.
That was so good, man.
Because that seems like a sort of like a schoolboy sort of like jokey humor where like they're just. If you make a valid argument, someone will just say, "Oh, that's racist." Try and do and the thing with black or white, they're like, "Oh, you're just racist."
Which it's cool that they're like, appreciating that. They're not shying away from doing that. But yeah, like we said, we get to decide what to put in the rewatch playlist. So we'll have a bit of a listen, and we'll figure out what to put in there.
Yeah.
Do we want to move on to final thoughts?
Let's go to final thoughts. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, look, I'll go first. I think this is my favorite DCEU film. It's topped the list. It's even better than the Snyder Cut, in my opinion. Just the Snyder Cut was just a bit too long for me. I'd rather have a shorter film with like a bunch of action in it.
Yeah, sure.
I think pretty much anyone is going to enjoy this film, in my opinion. I think the characters were great. A lot of them were given pretty good storylines. I liked the fact that it is the Suicide Squad, so they are going to die. There's going to be death, and they just kind of go full force into that. Love that as well. You can't shy away from that if you're going to call it the Suicide Squad. I think there were some fantastic emotional heartstrings in this film with Ratcatcher and Idris Elba.
Beautiful.
I mean, it's so unexpected. I didn't expect it, and it just kind of hit me out of nowhere. So great on that. Peacemaker, I know you have a bit of an issue with him.
Oh, no. I love him for what he is.
You love him for what he is.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I hate the guy. Which is exactly what I should be saying.
Yeah. I think he was also pretty well done in this. And then his sort of, his interactions with Rick Flag, another standout character. Amanda Waller is great in this. I think some of the one-liners with King Shark was fantastic. I mean, there's a lot to love in this film, but at the same time, you've also got some pretty dull villains. Those two sort of general dudes. I think some of the humor, like you said, at times was just a bit average. But pretty much everything else, I mean, it was just like 2 hours, 15 minutes of just blatant fun, man. It's just like James Gunn just doing what he wants, unlimited creative freedom minus Harley Quinn's plot armor. Another issue was Harley Quinn kind of falling behind a bit. But I think this has well exceeded my expectations for what I thought the Suicide Squad was going to give. And I mean, coming from one of the most critically, to be worsely critically acclaimed films ever, declaimed films, Suicide Squad, good on DC for finally getting this right. Yeah. I'm going to give it an A-. I had a fun time, but I think it was great.
I was going to go for an A- as well, so we'll reach consensus on that.
Yep.
Is this my favourite DCU movie? No. And let me tell you why. So I'm a huge DC fan, okay?
Yep.
And so seeing Batman and Superman on screen, it's just already going to, make me enjoy it a lot more than, Bloodsport. I've never heard of him since today, And so the Snyder Cut for me is still the best DCEU film. Because I love the 4-hour runtime. I love seeing all of the Justice League, and there's just something special about seeing the Flash reverse time to save the world, and seeing Superman and Batman interact, and Wonder Woman and all these things. So as a DC fan, I that makes me happier than this movie.
Yep.
But this movie is just a good movie. And the Snyder Cut's a good movie, but it's also 4 hours.
I know.
And I love that. But I think this altogether is the better film, the superior film, if you compare the two from a critical standpoint. So I've got a 2021 so far list,
Yep.
and this comes in number 2.
Yep.
Comes in
As with
behind
me as well.
behind A Quiet Place Part 2.
Yep.
But I'll need to rewatch both of these because I both gave them 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, so they're both the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this film. It exceeded my expectations. You know, I was probably going into it quite skeptical about what it was going to be. I thought and was worried that it would become a Marvel film. You know, there would be pretty lackluster CGI, pretty light-hearted characters, not a lot of gore, and literally all of my expectations were sort of subverted, but in a good way.
Blown out of the park.
Yeah, exactly. And I really enjoyed some of the character moments, and the music was not spectacular like in BVS or something like that, but still worked really well. I think for me, what is going to be the best thing about this movie is just the fact that I can enjoy it in isolation. I can put this 4K disc on the shelf and not have to try and justify its existence because it's not part of the quote-unquote Snyderverse.
Yeah.
You know, so I can enjoy this by itself. Just like how I can enjoy Joker by itself.
Yep.
And while I'm on this sort of tangent, as a DC fan, I just want to say that the last 3 movies we got from DC, the last 2 movies we got from DC, The Suicide Squad and the Snyder Cut, both really, really good films.
Are they finally figuring out what they're doing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Snyder Cut's, it's sort of like they should have released that, but those are 2 really good films. Now let's look at the last 2 Marvel films, Black Widow and Spider-Man Far From Home. Are we at the stage in history where the DCEU is at present better?
Is it winning the race?
Than the MCU? I think we're able to have that conversation, and I think on average perhaps the DCU is catching up because
they're winning. They're 100% winning.
Think so?
Yes. Think about the previous films. Black Widow, Spider-Man Far From Home, Snyder Cut, and The Suicide Squad are better. There's no question about it. Future films. Shang-Chi Eternals.
The Batman.
The Batman's coming out.
Robert Pattinson.
Come on, people. I mean, DC is finally finding their footing. It seems like they're...
Oh, Joker, by the way, was and also another very recent, that was 2019.
Another recent film from DC.
Joker, Snyder Cut,
Wonder Woman
The Suicide Squad. Oh yeah, let's forget about that. Let's not include that one.
It seems when they just allow creative freedom,
do something special.
It works in their favor, right?
Yeah, let the artist do something.
It's funny how that works. Allow the director to do what they want.
Allow the director to direct the movie. How about that, Warner Bros?
I hope they continue with this sort of direction in the future. Who knows if they will? Yeah.
I look forward to the day we see Idris Elba on screen constructing his gun like a Power Ranger with guitar music in the background.
With Batman. I would love to see that.
That would be cool. That would be cool. You can only hope. All right, so that'll about wrap it up for us on the Suicide Squad. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Rewatch podcast. If you'd like to follow us on Instagram, you can do so at the Rewatch Pod. Jaden, do you want to talk about what you've sort of been posting on the Instagram account?
Yeah. So, like Sam just said, you can follow us on the Rewatch Pod. A lot of the time we're kind of advertising, the podcasts that are coming out. But I've more so sort of started introducing movie and TV news now. So if you want to give us a follow over there, you'll stay up to date with all of the new news that's coming out. The top stories. Idris Elba's coming back for Sonic 2. Yeah, just...
I wouldn't have predicted that.
Yeah.
As Knuckles.
Weird, right?
Yeah.
Just general news, yeah.
Yeah, the top stories. If you want to stay up to date without, having to invest in, listening to an hour-long podcast on news or something like this, or just follow us on Instagram. If you'd like to subscribe to the YouTube channel, just search the Rewatch on YouTube. Next episode, I think it's going to be a bit more of a dark episode.
Yes.
I think it's either going to be Prisoners or Midsummer.
Yes.
So stay tuned to find out which one.
Maybe we'll do a poll, see what the people want.
Maybe we'll let the people decide.
Yeah.
Just like a democratic nation, just like Corto Maltese is. Corto Maltese is, thanks to Bloodsport, Harley Quinn, and
the Freedom People.
And Nom Nom.
Nom Nom.
Thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll catch you next time.
Bird.
Bird.
See ya.